Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday, happy Friday, wherever you are. We're a couple minutes early. I'm getting some technology set up so that we can bring on our special guest today. Super excited for the Culture Playground Masterclass today. And we have one of our community members who I have been connected with through the Genius Group. And we both share a passion for flow and for actually celebrating the unique, amazing humans that we are. And so I am going to bring Xander on as a panelist so we can see him on video with us, which will be great. Hi, Xander. Hello, hello.
Yes, I'm getting
Welcome.
all turned on.
Yes, and I am in Florida. So I flew out to Florida yesterday to surprise my brother-in-law for his retirement. And so I decided, why not sit outside while I'm in Florida, since we have this beautiful lanai and I can avoid some bugs and just be here and show you all the beautiful weather we're having.
Yeah.
So welcome, Xander. I'm so happy that you're here. I cannot do your work justice by describing it myself. I would rather you give yourself a little snippet of an intro, and really just excited to have you on and to learn more about you today. So why don't you share a little bit of your background with us?
Thank you. It's exciting to be here with you and share all the novelty of understanding old things in a different way, isn't it? It's always reviving a new approach, finding a new approach to understand the basics. And well, in terms of my background, my my highest achievement is that I was dyslexic, and I didn't know, and I struggled, and as everybody does, right? I wasn't different. But when I went to university, the load of books, it was too much to bear with, and I was taking engineering. And I decided to give up halfway through, and which was very hard. And at this point, because I couldn't deal with all the books, and at this point, I found a teacher at the university teaching people how to read better, speed reading and all that principle. And then I said, oh my God, I can actually read for pleasure, which was for me a surprise. I thought you had to do something, do some studying. And this link of reading and pleasure is something that most people don't know exists. They do their reading because they need to do, or they need to be up to date. They read the newspaper. And after that, I did, through Roger, he was the person that introduced me to word flow in 2007, like 15 years ago. And
yeah, so for those that don't know, Xander and I's connection is through the Genius Group, which is Roger James Hamilton's group of companies. And the assessment that I use, for those of you that know my work in schools and in school culture transformation, is called Talent Dynamics. And that's part of Roger's work as well. And so that's a little bit of what Xander's sharing with us and how we were connected. Is Roger's work and talking about flow and what is our natural brainware and strength. And Xander, will you also share where you're from so that everyone can place your accent?
Exactly. I'm Brazilian, and I've lived 22 years in London, and now I'm in France. So learning French and expanding, putting some more challenges in my life. I think creating challenges are very powerful to actually create the state of flow, because when there's a very interesting thing that understanding flow through Roger's perspective is that you understand your box, that you are, in my case, I'm a creator, and you are created yourself. Yeah. Yes. So when you understand where your strengths are, it's so liberating, because you know lots of things you shouldn't be doing or that you can actually do. I can do my taxes, but it drains my energy. But when I understand that I am creative and I wrote a book and things like that excite me, but you need in your box, you need to go deeper in the box.
Yeah.
To go there, you need to create challenges. So it's not, I'm gonna do creative things, la la la. It doesn't bring the state of deep flow if you don't know how to challenge yourself. I have little 1 week challenges that I play some games in a way with my clients, because it's how to create one little challenge, do something you never done before, so you can observe when you get in flow and when you get out of flow, and what happened to make you get in flow, because most of us get in flow by chance.
Right. Right. What was it like for you growing up
Right.
before you knew what flow was? What was that like for you?
I knew that certain things, I like doing things with my hands, like some sculptures, and I would go into that state that time goes by in a flash, and I didn't know that was flow. And every day I'm or learning a little bit more, even after writing a book that took me years and years about flow. It's like so mysterious. We say, it's flow, but did you enter flow state today? I don't know. I had a good day, so maybe I did. But when you start noticing, then you have an insight, and you can bring flow about more often and for longer, because it's not just get in, because you can get in and it's so easy to get out of
And
the.
it's so interesting to talk about this. And we think about the current state of education and what's been happening for generations, is to kind of fit into this box, right? And we've been saying, think outside the box for decades, think outside the box. Think, well, what does that mean when each of us think differently? Each of us read differently, each of us. So one of the most beautiful things when you and I were talking about bringing you on to this masterclass about how our brains are naturally wired and connecting it to reading is that there is that connection. There is that ability for us to go, oh, I'm not a bad person because I skim. I'm not a bad person because I prefer to read the Cliff Notes version. I am not a bad person because I love to really dive into the research side of things, right? And so understanding in your past with struggling with, and I'm sure that you still do, most people that I know with dyslexia still struggle to this day. Like, you just come up with certain hacks that serve you. And even within that, each person that struggles with dyslexia also has a unique brain wired strength into what things will work for them and what things won't. I think we try to, come up with this one size fits all approach when it's really personalized learning as well as personalized resources and tricks and tools and things like that. So can you share a little bit? I know this is just kind of a surface level, but we want to go as deep as we can into this topic in the short amount of time. And then we're going to come back together and have a longer conversation, which we'll share with everyone here coming up soon. But if you can just kind of share that framework and give people some nuggets to take away, I'd love to learn from you.
Well, when people talk about flow, they say, I'm flowing, I'm enjoying a process or doing something. I'm practicing sports, public speaking. I'm an introverted person. And when I understood deeper that flow can be achieved by someone doing some public speaking, then empowered me to actually do it. Because I was afraid, because I would handle with smaller groups. But when I had more than 1,000 people in front of me, it was a blast. It was so cool, because I was relaxed, I was super focused, and I could come up with the ideas and the answer and interact with the audience in a way that I didn't expect. I was going to do it so well. So flow is actually extreme focus, that you are really in the present moment. You are in the deep now, some people call it, right? So when you are super focused, while, for example, while reading, which is something that I've developed and focus a lot of my own work on understanding what's the process of reading about. Because we learn as children, 5, 6, 7 years of age, then you start reading slowly and you read out loud. At some point, your parents say, "You're reading so well, you can close your little mouth now and read for yourself."
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Because you will start reading all the signs, every label that you can see, you can read. So at this point, the education for reading ends. You're about 9 or 10, and that's it. If you're lucky, you go fast, you focus well. If you're not, you struggle. But you try to manage and you do whatever it takes to go all the steps. So when I realized that the focus, more focus you get, and you can improve your speed of reading. And if you ask any scientist, they measure everything. We know every single thing. We know the speed of light, 300,000 kilometers per second. How can you measure that? It's just like almost impossible to think. They measure how far we are from the sun. We measure everything. What's your reading speed? No one will answer. Or maybe 1 in 1,000 because they took a course at some point or curious. So it's so important when you understand that if you get more focused and you learn how to go faster, you get in flow. Not always, but it's the first principle. If you go slowly and carefully, because you, for example, as a student, if they read something and then the teacher asks, what does it mean? And they say, I don't know, I'm not understanding very well. Slow down, pay more attention. The opposite is true. If you slow down, it's harder to understand because the brain processes information 10 times faster than we can talk. And most people read at the speed that they talk, which is about 150, 200, 250 words per minute. This is 95% of people. You know, like me, someone that reads faster than you. We are reading an article together and then they finish and you're still reading.
Right. And you're like,
so,
wait, what's that? Oh, yeah. Immediately I feel like a bad person.
Yeah. And
what am I doing wrong? Yeah.
Yeah. And did you understand everything? Yeah. I read. My friend Sid, when I was teenager, he would come and say, Zander, you need to read this book. It's amazing. When did you read? Overnight. What do you mean? Last night? You read last night the whole book? Yeah. And I said, it's not possible. But it is possible. If someone can do it, you can do it too. There's a way to understand. There's a psychology also behind it because you're afraid of going fast and you miss out on things. But once you focus better and you expand your vision, you switch the right brain on. And, well, in a very simplistic way, is that if you try to stop the voice, the little voice that you read and you listen to your own voice saying the words back to yourself, you can't by choice because it's so ingrained. You learn to talk first and then you read. So they come together. So if you decide to silence the voice, it doesn't silence. So you need to be indirectly doing something. And my view is that when you read, you're using mostly the left brain, which is sequential and linear. It's logic. So one word at a time. That's the sequential and linear. That's the way we talk. I cannot say 2 words at once.
Right.
It doesn't work. So one after the other. The right brain is holistic, everything at once. So you deal with images and pictures, mostly with the right brain, because I can see a picture, and a picture means 1,000 words. There's a little dog with a white tail, and it's 3 mountains, and I start describing with 1,000 words one image that you can see in 1 second. So when you start connecting both to read with left and right brain, I start seeing words like self-contained packages of information. They are pictures. I'm seeing them and I'm absorbing, because I'm not seeing them just one. Because if I look, my visual span is big. But if I'm reading, I can only see this much. And I jump, my eyes keep jumping. So when you start seeing more, you can see 3 or 4 words, they integrate because they always come in that kind of sequence. It's like a predictive text. When you're writing an email, on they complete the next few words for you. Most of the time is the right word to come after those words. So our brain start understanding things in a bigger chunk, and then you start watching the movie of the book. Yeah, some people say, the book is better than the movie. Why? Because you could create something better than Spielberg can. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Right.
So imagination is there. If they describe enough and you're going fast enough, you are already stimulating the right brain to read, and then he expands more because he has the power to create the images. And you remember what you created in your mind. You don't remember the words you read, right? The moment you finish reading, you forget the word because it doesn't matter. What it matters is the images or the insights you have. And then when you remember the images that you created, then it's solid because you're recreating reality in your own way. Does it make sense to you?
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So what was the first trick that you learned when you started reading faster? What was that? Was there something, I mean, to expand it, it's like, okay, but what comes first? Is it that I start like kind of looking at words differently on the page? Is it that I just start expanding my, like, what is that like? How do I do that?
So in a way, some one interesting thing now, practical, yeah. The kids, they start reading, and then they're using their finger to point the words to help them go through it. The moment they get good at reading at the speed that they talk, they study there, and the teacher says, don't use your finger because you don't need to use your finger, just with your eyes. But if you want to increase the pace, if you want to go a little faster, if you run your finger down the line a little faster, you follow, and somehow you detach yourself a little bit from the sound because somehow you start getting it. But if you don't measure first thing first, measure, read 1 minute with your timer, yeah, on your phone, and then you read a book, measuring 2 different books, one fiction, one non-fiction. Some people are a bit more flexible. They change gears because with the non-fiction, it's easier to read faster because you're trying to extract information.
Right.
And when you start getting more in flow or you start going faster, you start searching for the information. But most people are passively hoping that something will come up, that they will understand or remember. So it's more passive. The attitude is more passive. Like audiobooks, they're great. I like audiobooks myself, but it's a different brain that's absorbing that information because it's passive and I'm waiting for it to sink in. And if I'm moving here and I'm just doing this, I miss a few things. we are missing things in life. Yeah, we are very selective. But when you are actively searching, you're reading because you want to find the information. It's more exciting because when you find it, I got it. And it's just like, it's some happiness. It brings you happiness because you found what you were looking for. And if you're passively reading, most people do, you're reading and you finish the chapter and you say, oh, I need to read another chapter. It's like, it's not so motivating. But when you start pushing a little bit with your finger or with a pencil, it's even better because you touch yourself a little more and you move your arm less, so you get less tired because everything is energy. The source of energy is just one. So you start saying, actually, it's start to flow a bit more. And then I'm more focused. And one thing that happens immediately is that you stop going back to reread so often because it's autopilot to go back to reread and just to double check what was the name of the guy. It doesn't matter.
Right.
Most of the time we go back 1943. It doesn't matter the date, because if I'm actively searching for information, you start seeing what's not important. Yeah. So
yeah. And all of us are reading for a different purpose, right? And so
exactly.
as we go into, in the Northern Hemisphere, our summer months, right? Into our school break, we're often looking for things to read. We're looking for, what are we going to do to satisfy as educators and edupreneurs? We have this core value of growth and learning. And it just comes natural to us. So we're always seeking information. We're always seeking to learn something new, even if it's just scrolling on social media. Often we're seeking something that we can learn or something that we can grow from, whether it's inspiration to shift our mindset or whatever it is. And so what I'm loving about what you're sharing, kind of as we start to wrap up in our short 25 minutes that we have together, is that you get to find your flow within something that is so valuable to us in reading. And once you find that natural flow state for yourself within reading, you can then accelerate that. And you can actually find the tricks and the tools that work for you as an individual. And if you've been around talent dynamics and wealth dynamics for a while, and you know the dominant frequencies and the profile names, if you're a dynamo dominant frequency, your brain works more at that high level. If you're a tempo dominant frequency, you're going to want to be more kinesthetic and kind of in the weeds. If you're more blaze, then maybe some of those audio books will really work for you. But how can you actually consume faster in a really meaningful way, and what might that look like for you? And then thinking about the steel dominant frequency and really that research brain where you really want to get into the meat of things and what that looks like. So make sure that you're using your superpower, your natural brain-wired strength, to read from your position of strength, and then start noticing when you're in that flow state. And so Xander, if you could kind of wrap up with that, you started to mention it, like how will you know when you're in that flow state of reading from your position of strength and what your genius is?
So I'll use gamification in a process of choosing certain activities that you will like to do. I would like to do something, and you bring a new activity in terms of your routine. You track it. So let's say you're gonna be doing some exercise, or you can be doing some reading that you structure. How much? Not that much. 3 times a week, 15 minutes. Okay, it's not going to stretch me. I can do it. Okay, so I do it 15 minutes. And then when I see the 15 minutes goes off, when I'm reading, I'm not looking at the clock, and the timer will go off. So when it goes off after 15 minutes, I said, actually, I'm enjoying it. I'm going to go further. Are you in flow? I'm getting it. I'm into it. So you keep going, and then you see, wow, I was actually enjoying that process. I was just getting in. I was forgetting about myself. So it's important first also to learn about flow itself. So Mihai Csikszentmihalyi is the creator of the word flow. Once you start reading his books or other information about flow, then you realize what flow is about, because you need the knowledge of flow, because there are so many triggers, primers and stabilizers that make you be aware. And when you have that insight, then you can do it again and again in different activities.
I love that. And really, it's something we've talked about in lots of our different master classes, is noticing, right? That self-awareness, to notice. So even if it's that the timer goes off and you're like, wait, that's all that was, begin to step back for a second and go, oh, what was I feeling in my body? What was that visceral sensation I was having? And how do I recreate that, right? Get curious with yourself about how to do that again. And then take appropriate action based upon what you uncovered just within yourself. It's that noticing, that self-awareness, so that you can really master what's working and what's not working for you. Because then as we create this ripple of impact, we can share forward and we can continue to help others, which again, Xander, I so appreciate you being with us today and sharing your wisdom in the playground. It is so vital that we as educators and edupreneurs continue to share with one another how we're navigating through this ever-changing world of education in order to accelerate our consciousness and accelerate our growth and learning as humans, because that's what it's about. We're all teachers, we're all students, and we're in this together. And Xander, I will see you very soon. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you being here. And one question I want to ask you kind of as we wrap up, a little off topic, but I tend to ask all of my special guests is, what was your favorite toy, game, or pastime as a child? Since this is what did you play as a child?
I used to make work with bamboo, cutting and creating some different things that I saw in Japanese magazine when I was young. And then I started making. My mother is an architect, so she would introduce me to the owners of shops, and I was selling those things. So I would spend hours, and when I was almost done, it cracks, because bamboo is very difficult to work. And I was with power tools like 12, 13. And yeah, I like making things. Now I'm making art out of fruit and legumes, vegetables.
Wonderful. Xander, will you post a couple links or maybe a couple pictures to all of that wonderfulness, even if it's your bamboo creations as a child or your fruit now? I'd love for you to put it in the thread of where we're streaming live on Facebook in our Conscious Educator Playground. So
yeah, I'll do that.
Xander, I wish you a wonderful rest of your week, a wonderful weekend ahead. And thank you everybody for tuning in. Love you bunches, and we'll see you all soon. Bye everyone.
Thank you. Bye.